Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by DieHard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Hello and welcome to MotorWeek podcast number 96. I am not John Davis, our most excellent host, who is not with us this week. I am the Plan B emergency use only host, Brian Robinson, Assistant Vice President of Writing Operations. And joining me today, helping us get through this, is a road test crew of Ben Davis and Greg Carlos.
How come we don't get a fancy
adaptation
of our title?
We're just one group now,
yes,
not
yes.
individual. All right, that's cool.
And my co-worker in the writing and researching area, Patrick Lucas.
Yes, that's me.
All right.
Off to a good start.
Yes, and hoping that we can get through it. We'll have the usual format, some recent cars have been driving, lightning round question, viewer question. Let's get right into it. Recently, we had a SUV challenge with Cars.com and USA Today. And and moving right along, we had 7 SUVs. The criteria for the competition was under $40,000 and 19 combined fuel economy. Had 7 contestants. I'll just run down them real quick. Chevrolet Traverse, Dodge Durango, Honda Pilot, Hyundai Santa Fe, Mazda CX-9, Nissan Pathfinder, and Toyota Highlander. Long story short, Hyundai Santa Fe was the winner. No surprise there, maybe. It was our large SUV of the year pick just last year.
Yep, true.
Main thing is it wasn't super inexpensive. It wasn't the least expensive there, but it had way more features and everything else.
What was the price line there?
Under $40,000.
Under 40. And it's just barely under. I think it's like you can get up to 38 in the Santa Fe
well,
now,
it was
right?
more than that. It was just barely. It was like barely. It was 39 and change.
But that had
barely
everything, right?
But it had way more features than everything else, which was impressive. But then it also had the most horsepower and also got the best fuel economy. So it's kind of a.
It had an intercom too, right?
No, that's the Toyota.
Oh.
Now, Brian, what was your favorite SUV?
That's a good question. Me,
Are you trying to take over as the host, or like, what's going on here?
No, me personally, I prefer the Dodge Durango just because it rides more like a traditional SUV. I like the interior features a little more. I don't need a cooled seat or a panoramic sunroof, but I like the Uconnect system better.
Those things are nice.
I like the cooled seats.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I'd buy a Chrysler product, but that would have been my pick.
What place did that finish in?
That finished in second.
Second place, and then what was it? Highlander 3, I would guess.
Highlander was third. Usually these things fall into whichever the newest vehicle is the one that wins, but Highlander was the newest one here, and that wasn't the case. But that one had the intercom system.
What kind of responses were we getting from the guest contestants, I guess?
He really liked the Santa Fe. Just because it looked cooler, had all the features. He was definitely into all that. Yeah, the intercom system on the Toyota, if you're not familiar with it, uses the Bluetooth microphone, and so the driver, and then it comes out the rear speakers for the third row. I'm not sure. It's
cool.
It is a long way back there, so it actually can come in handy. I guess. Well, I mean, I remember when
it's fun to play with anyway.
Yeah, all right.
Any questions? Any other comments? 3-row SUVs, families?
Hold on, let me look at the list of everything on there.
Durango, last time I drove a Durango was a couple of years ago, and it had gear hunting problems maybe on the highway. Mm-hmm. Is that still the case?
The 8-speed, yeah.
This is the new 8-speed, right?
Yeah, that's the new 8-speed. If it was a couple years ago, that was only the 6-speed that you drove, so I'm not sure. But it's
still hunting for gears quite a bit.
It's busy, to say the least, with that many gears, but I didn't notice it too much.
Do you guys have the, what was new for this? Your new trim level, right?
For what?
For the Durango?
I
Perhaps.
think there is a new trim level. Yeah.
We just did a quick spin a couple months ago.
It wasn't the Citadel, was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is.
I think we had
should know
limited
because I wrote it. But.
Well, I went on the event and I can't remember now either.
I'm pretty sure it was Citadel. But we just had the limited.
Oh, okay.
I think Citadel would have been too
V6.
pricey. Yeah. All contestants were V6. Most were two-wheel drive. There were a couple all-wheel drives, but I think maybe the Pilot was the winner last time we did a big three-row.
Yep.
Fell down to sixth on this time.
We had one on the lot the other day. That thing looks tired, man.
Yeah.
That's well. I mean, the one that we had didn't really do it any favors. I think it was like as base as you could possibly get, minus all-wheel drive.
I remember that one.
But
with
it
the
was
steel wheels.
Yeah, man. It was like, wow. What year is it?
All right, well, good Honda transition. We'll move right into the
Honda Fit
that Ben has recently driven.
Yeah, I went out to San Diego to drive the 2015. They did a really good job. They brought over that traditional, well, not traditional, but that new Honda face that seems to be spreading its way throughout the whole model range is now on the Fit, and it looks really, really good on there. Rear passenger room is definitely up, and that was a big issue. There's much more leg room and even more headroom for taller people. I was talking to Stretch on the event. A photographer, Stretch.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys
we all know Stretch.
I love that guy. And he was saying that his friend has one as a current model. And in the back, he hardly has any headroom at all. His head touches the ceiling. But in this one, he was lounging pretty good with a fair amount of headroom, which is kind of cool. I mean, it may look small on the outside, but it's even bigger on the inside now, which is pretty amazing.
But that extra rear seat space came with a price, though, right? What was that? Less cargo room.
Less cargo.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, less cargo space.
And I guess active young buyers would want more. You know, they need a lot of cargo. They haul a lot of gear, but you could always
What
put
about
a roof rack on the
inactive young
thing.
buyers?
Inactive young buyers won't have a problem, man.
She won't even get out of their house to go to the dealership to look at it.
CVT, you can get it in 6-speed manual or a CVT now, which the Auto Trans in the previous or the current model wasn't a CVT. And now you get all the groans and stuff of a CVT when you're trying to get up to your target speed.
Really?
Which I don't appreciate the extra
The
noise.
CVT and the Accord I thought was very nice and didn't seem to be as noisy.
There's a big difference between an Accord and a Fit, I guess, in sound deadening material.
Trade-off is fuel economy, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the price you got to pay.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the deal today.
And you can get the manual if you don't want it, right?
I would probably go for the manual. Absolutely. The manual was...
I'm sure you're like a very few people who would actually get that. I'm sure because most of the people...
It's hard to say.
Most of the events I've gone on now, it's like, I mean, this isn't news, but nobody's buying the manual. It's like sometimes below 30%, probably even less than
Single
that.
digits usually.
Well, and it's being an entry-level car, I don't think a lot of people really know how to drive manual anymore that would be shopping for this car.
What's it starting at? Is it any price increase over previous Fit?
I think very minimal.
Yeah, it is.
Still $100.
There's a lot more
Affordable.
standard features, and it's slightly elevated. But yeah, I think it's only $100, maybe $200.
Still like 16 or 17, is that right? Somewhere
In between there, yeah.
Right on. Now, previous Fits, we've always thought they were actually pretty fun to drive, which is maybe more fun than you would think by looking at it. Is that still the case, or not exactly fun to drive anymore?
No, definitely still fun to drive. Absolutely, especially with the manual.
For the money, is there maybe something that would be a better option in that particular segment?
That is a $1 million question.
Or $16,000 question?
I mean, what else is even in that?
Yeah, I would have to quick
What
refresher
competes
of
with that?
its competitors at that price level, but offhand,
Yeah, I'm not really thinking.
offhand, I don't think you're going to get anything as, you know, with cool a magic seat and cool features like that, and you know, a sporty look. It's definitely
Mitsubishi Mirage. You sure you wouldn't want one of those?
Uh,
Or a Fit?
That's a lot smaller.
Is
yeah.
it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Fit's got like interior room comparable to like a crossover. Yeah, it's got a lot. It's still got a lot of room in there. But I haven't. Have you driven the Mirage?
I've
Somebody
driven
drove.
the Mirage.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I just haven't driven a Fit in a while. I'm thinking of a Fit and just thinking of a small car, but I guess it's not.
It's
small
huge
car
inside.
anymore. Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, moving on.
It was like, for instance,
Sorry to ruin that segment for everybody.
For instance, our Forester. When you jump in the front seat of a Forester, it seems a little cramped, really. But in the Fit, it just seems like such a bigger car than the Forester inside.
Interesting.
Can we move on now?
Yeah,
I guess.
Next up is the F-Type R Coupe. And
Coupe, depending on how you like to pronounce it.
Yeah, there's a little accent mark over the E.
Really?
There should be.
Well, yeah, the Brits call it a coupe, and we call it coupe. We also say Jaguar sometimes.
Jaguar. All right, well, tell us all about it, other than that.
Well, a couple of podcasts ago, I remember you were tired of talking about the F-Type, but guess what? We're talking about it again. But this actually has a fixed roof, and it looks...
All right, I'm tired of talking about the coupe already. Okay.
It looks way better than the Roadster, I think, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on that one. It still has 2 V6 models, and then the V8, which now if you want a V8, you have to get the R model, which didn't have available in the Jaguar Roadster. It was just the S. But essentially with the R, you get 550 horsepower over 500 pound-feet of torque, so even more power coming out of that supercharged 5-liter. As far as like down to the details, you can get a glass roof option,
Awesome.
which I think it needs in that particular vehicle because I drove 2 days without a glass roof, and I actually felt a little bit cramped inside of there, and without having the ability to take that top down like in the Roadster. Other notes, got to do some pretty decent track time on a real cool new track in Barcelona, Spain. And it actually, there's now carbon ceramic brakes available on the F-Type, which is new. It's an expensive option, but if you're going to do a lot of track time and you have the money, then go for it, because there was a mile-long straight on this particular track, which then led to a second gear, left-hand, like hairpin turn, and you really relied on those carbon ceramics going into that one. There really wasn't much fade at all to be had, which is good going into that sort of turn. Torque vectoring is also available, which is a first for Jaguar, and that's really something you don't notice at higher track speeds, but we were on a smaller wet track that we got to experience that, which was pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, it's actually the F-Type Coupe will be cheaper in both V6 versions, but I think the R will be a little bit more expensive than the Roadster, the V8S.
Are they all automatic still?
All automatic, still no manual transmission, which I guess would bring us to a topic of, Corvette or F-Type Coupe. And
Corvette.
Go for it.
it seems like a pretty easy choice. Well, you can also compare it to, obviously the Corvette, the amount of performance you're getting for, mid-50s and into the 60s, the $60,000 range. The Jaguar just can't match that, but you're getting the prestige with the Jaguar. Hardly anybody's going to have the F-Type Coupe, and there will be a lot of Corvettes on the road. But then again, there won't be a lot of Z06s on the road, and I think that's what you would compare the F-Type Coupe, the V8R.
That's a solid comparo point for sure. But
your feelings are pretty well heard. I think you're a Corvette, and I'd have to agree.
Yeah, I think anything you match up in a $60,000 price range with Corvette, the Corvette's going to win, right?
I concur.
Yeah. So which would you buy, the Roadster or the Coupe?
Oh, I'd buy the Coupe, but I'd have to have the glass top.
I think I was looking
tops.
through that press release kit, and I think they said they plan to sell a lot more of the Coupe over the convertible, which is surprising because the convertible kind of put it on the map.
Yeah. It just seems like, and they were talking to me about this, that Americans just don't like the convertible, or it just doesn't sell well in America.
If you go back to the E-Type days, there are far more E-Type coupes than there were convertibles here in the States.
And this, the Coupe actually resembles the E-Type a lot more than the Roadster does. And actually, they showed us a pretty cool picture that they claim wasn't photoshopped or anything, but it was a sort of an evening photograph of the car driving, and the shadow of the car was like an almost exact image of the E-Type. It was
cool.
Really weird looking.
All right, any other F-Type comments?
This might be the last time we talk about it for a while.
Something tells me it won't be. We'll get one in and drive it, and then we'll talk about it again. All right. Audi A3, Patrick, you've driven that recently.
I have driven that recently.
Drop some knowledge, if you will.
I don't know if I'm dropping any knowledge. I'll drop some facts on you.
Gently.
All right, well, obvious competitor is the CLA, which we just spent a decent amount of time in at Roebling. Obviously, that was the AMG, so doesn't really compare yet.
Well,
the S3 will be out. Hopefully soon.
Well, compared to the 250, the
Right.
CLA 250.
Greg, slow down, Greg. Let me get there.
Easy, you guess.
So it compares to the CLA 250. The A3 comes in a 1.8 turbo and a 2-liter turbo, front-wheel drive for the 1.8, quattro for the 2. Those are the only, as of now, those are the fixed options. You can't get all-wheel drive on the smaller engine. New standard 6-speed dual-clutch transmission for both, so no CVT, no 7-speed, none of that. No
6-speed?
Yeah, 6-speed. Yeah. No manual option that I saw. Maybe that comes later. I don't know. Maybe that's with the S3. I don't know. Very quick shifting, felt nice. The 2-liter obviously is the way to go. It's not actually that much more expensive. I think that maybe starts at $33,000, maybe right under $34,000, which is still a good amount of money. But yeah, the car on the whole felt very tight and compact, very sporty, fun to go through switchbacks. Still enough room to live with, which is surprising. I think it's actually bigger. It's bigger and wider than the A3 Sportback, which is the 5-door hatchback, which is previously available in the U.S.
So this is strictly sedan now, or?
Yep.
Okay.
For the time being, I don't know if they're going to bring the Sportback, the 5-door, back again ever, but for the time being, yeah, A3 is sedan only.
People make enough noise about it. You saw Subaru's thinking about bringing the...
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if the A3 had a huge following here as a Sportback, so maybe they thought sedan's the way to go. They updated the MMI. Go ahead.
I think it had a big following at all, really.
Yeah,
I don't really see them that often.
Yeah, I've seen a few here and there, but I haven't really seen much of an A3 presence here. So maybe they're hoping, or I think they're definitely planning on the sedan being big seller. It's got the classic, or I guess what you would now consider classic Audi proportions to all their sedans. It's the first ever car to have 4G LTE connectivity, if you're into that. That didn't really do much for me. But
is that part of... I kept seeing articles about people calling the A3 like a classic hipster car. I don't understand why
I think people are
making that connection.
They have this advertising campaign where they're obviously trying to get a little bit more well-off younger people into the car. I don't know what that translates to. I don't know how they're doing that. I don't know what the thinking is. I mean,
well, you're our office hipster. And
yeah, there you go.
So,
I got my French press and
the freshest of coffees.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I personally, I've been loyal to Audi. I drive an A4 now, so this car reminded me a lot of what the A4 used to be, maybe a couple body styles ago. Small and compact, sporty, still room to live with. So, I mean, if you're into that thing and you like Audi, I think it's a much better choice over the CLA. Personally, so
I was just going to ask, but
yeah, I think it's way better than the CLA 250. I don't know how the S3 and the 45 AMG are going to compare, but I like it, and I think we'll probably have a full test on it.
Would a 45 AMG and the S3 really compare, or would there be an RS3?
Yeah, that would be
that's probably true. Actually, yeah, the 45 AMG is just light years ahead of the 250. So.
Yeah, it's a whole different car. Yeah, I'm tired of talking about that one already.
Yeah, me too. I'm about to yawn.
Move on to our lightning round question. All right, there is a new government mandate from NHTSA just released requiring all new cars made 2018 and beyond to feature backup cameras as standard equipment. There are obvious pluses for drivers, but is it a good idea? Will it hurt the manufacturers cost-wise? And is the government getting too involved in the industry? And that's a 3-part question. So anybody want to jump in there on any of those parts?
Don't want to go over that 2-minute mark.
Okay. Just go for it. Just roll with it.
I like backup cameras. At first, I didn't. It was tough to get used to them. I think I just almost didn't trust cameras in a way, even though it doesn't really make any sense.
Well, because it tells you not to trust it. It says be sure to check your surroundings.
Yeah, that's true. But I really got used to it, and when I get into a car that doesn't have one, it even seems a little weird now.
It's frustrating.
It is frustrating, but I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Backup cameras and I never had a get to know you period. It was love at first sight. I think everybody should have one.
So they should be mandated as standard equipment.
What
Absolutely.
negative? I mean, what do you have to say that's negative about a backup camera? You
Well,
look like you want to jump in.
People, you might think that it would add to the cost of a base vehicle.
Well, yeah,
It adds to the cost. It adds to repair.
Well, how much does it add? Because I know like CRV and there's several other vehicles that have standard
Well, they tend to
backup
lump
cams.
them.
Like,
Yeah, but they tend to lump them in also if they're extra. They tend to lump it into like a technology package with navigation and all that extra stuff. So that's why it's like
that is possible. But I have seen low tech stereos that still had a backup cam built into the rearview mirror.
Right.
okay.
I don't really
The
like
Mustang,
those.
I think.
They're hard to use. But I mean, there are ways around extra tech.
that just seems like that stuff's getting so cheap now. I mean,
Especially if you mandated it. I mean,
I really don't see a downside.
Yeah. This is
to
also
this.
4 years from now, 3.5 years from now. So
yeah, I mean, Honda's putting them on their side mirrors now, and 360
That's
around
right.
cam, Nissan's.
That is a cool. I
stuff's
like
great.
the 360.
That's
cam.
cool technology.
And then, the whole new Land Rover with their Discovery's going to have the new see-through hood.
Yep, transparent.
What is that?
bonnet.
It's essentially just cameras underneath, right?
Yeah, it's two cameras mounted on the left and right side of the front bumper, I believe, or somewhere in the fender maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it has a heads-up display on the entire windshield. So, I mean, obviously that's probably going to be a lot of extra money. And probably not
Unless they
standard
mandate it that every manufacturer has to have it. I mean, the third part of that question is the government getting too involved in the industry. I mean, that ship has sailed a long time ago. I mean, government,
They're in it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a good point.
manufacturers can't do anything without the government approval and pretty much. I guess I have to stop. All right, now let's get to a common question. Many of us on the staff get this time of year. And this one is from Mark, and doesn't say where Mark's from. I guess he's just from the World Wide Web. Mark says that MotorWeek is the greatest show on the airwaves. Thanks for that, Mark.
It's true.
It is true. Okay.
I like our show.
All right. This is a long one, folks, so buckle up. Please explain the difference between the two types of oil and if either full synthetic or part synthetics justify the extra cost versus regular oil. I am currently using a full synthetic at $9 a quart and as of yet see no difference in performance. I do all regular maintenance and am really finding it hard to justify the additional cost, especially considering I have an older vehicle that has had nothing but regular oil and with over 250,000 miles, cannot complain one bit about conventional oil and its ability to protect and do its job. The vehicle I use synthetic in is new, and if all the hype is true and proven, I will continue to use it. What should I do? Anybody? Are y'all still awake?
Yeah.
Okay, go
I'm here.
All right. Go for it.
My wife's got an 09 Wrangler, and I started putting synthetic in that all the way up to 50,000 miles. And I switched to conventional recently because it was just way too expensive, and I'm changing it every 5,000 miles anyway. For me, I just couldn't afford it. Technically,
You just went the straight conventional, or did you do part synthetic?
no, I just went straight conventional.
Yeah.
So much cheaper, and that's not even cheap. I mean,
Right.
conventional is
Prices
still
are
like
going way up,
$4.30 a quart.
Yeah, I mean, I always stick with whatever the vehicle came with. If it requires it, then go with the. I think there are some vehicles that require it. Certainly, high performance stuff. Some of the engine tolerances have gotten super tight, and supposedly synthetic's better for that. But if your vehicle came with regular, I would say stick with that. Anybody else? And
That's strong advice.
I really don't see a point in the semi-synthetic other than maybe it's just environmental aspect. You want to use less oil. I don't know.
I trust semi-synthetic less than a backup.
It's a good compromise if you want to make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable putting in the conventional oil if you know that there's a little bit of synthetic in there. I think what might even be a bigger deal is putting in the high mileage stuff. If you said you have a vehicle of 250,000 miles, I mean,
I'd do that.
You're definitely going to want to put in that high mileage stuff. Kind of put some of the flex back in those gaskets and makes everything run better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it also high mileage oil has almost every year they're coming up with new additives and adding new additives to oil, and the high mileage I think kind of leaves out a lot of the newer additives and has it so it's more like if you have a 10-year-old vehicle, the oil is more like what you were putting in 10 years ago, I think. So I'm not sure if it
conditions
really,
things like rings or Gaskets, seals, something like
But
that.
if you've got 250,000 miles out of your other vehicle with regular oil,
that seems.
I'd keep rocking, keep doing what you're doing, save yourself some money, and take your significant other out for a nice meal with it or something. I don't know.
Nice.
At $9 a quart, that money you save should pay for a nice meal.
All right, I guess that wraps it up. Unless anybody else has got anything else.
I was going to say you could rent Over the Top off of Netflix or something and then have a meal.
By Over the Top, you mean
that will be the next podcast where we watch
Stallone
Over the Top
arm
and
wrestling.
make
Talk about
comments on it.
Top 10 Stallone movies. That
Too
should
soon.
be our
Too
next.
soon.
Too soon. What do you mean?
Still alive.
Okay. All right, that wraps it up. If this is the first podcast you've listened to, please don't judge us by this one. Listen to our others with our usual host, John Davis, who will be back with us next week. Feel free to check us out on all the usual social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, and whatever else we're on.
YouTube.
Check out YouTube videos.
And I'll thank our audio engineer, Jim Bigwood, podcast creator, Bog Mixter, podcast producer, Patrick Lucas. And a quick shout out to one of our editors, Taylor Baxter, who will never, ever hear this. But he's been with us for, over 20 years doing some of our editing. And he's moving on to bigger and better things. So thanks to him for all his work over the years. And that's it. We'll see you next time on Motor Week.
You have been listening to the podcast of Motor Week, television's original automotive magazine. Motor Week is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by Die Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch Motor Week, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.